Friends and family, we are live. It is Monday night, December 19th. We're a couple days late, but we are definitely not any dollars short. The Vikings pull off the most historic comeback in NFL history. They were down 33-0 at the half. They come all the way back, win 39-36 in overtime. Jordan, I got to say, the first thing that I just want to mention here, so Saturday afternoon, I'm watching the game with my 1-year-old, and my wife and my daughter they're out. They were at the Nutcracker on Saturday, so they were out having a great ladies' day. And me and my son just cuddling up watching the Vikings. And when my wife and daughter get home, she asked how the game was, and I just told her, like, well, we just had the most impressive comeback in NFL history. We were down 33-0. And we won by 3 in overtime. And she goes, first thing out of her mouth, they were down 33-0? That's really bad. So, there's an element of, yes, that was really bad from the Vikings. And then there's obviously the, oh my goodness, impressive. I don't know what to make of the most ridiculous thing that the NFL has ever seen. So, Jordan, where do you sit now about, 48 hours removed from the third miracle in Minneapolis Vikings home game history?
Yeah, that was crazy. It was kind of funny. I think that we can sum it up with the phrases that me and my family, which I posted the gif of me and my dad and my brother jumping around after the game that we took. But I think we can sum it up with the phrases we were using throughout the game, which began with, it's just a game. It's okay. It's football. You have no control over it. It is what it is. And then it turned into, don't give me hope. And then it very quickly turned into, it's more than just a game. And because I'm a theater kid and I like to act, I will tell you how those phrases were said. They were said, guys, it's just a game. And then they will say, oh, please don't give me hope. And then they will say, finally, it's more than just a game. It's a lifestyle. The Vikings come all the way back. Holy cow, should have never been down that badly to the Colts. And I think we could sit here for 20 minutes tonight and we could talk about, yeah, the Vikings shouldn't have been in that position and they shouldn't have gotten down. But there's no fun in that. And there's no need to. Everyone knows that, right? Like, we know what went wrong. The offense was bad. We weren't pass protecting well. We weren't running the ball well. We just weren't executing. And the defense was honestly not playing that terribly. They had a bad first drive, and then we started turning the ball over, and they were getting big special teams plays. And the defense honestly had a pretty impressive game, all things considered. But, just focusing on the positives, man. What a game. KJ Osborne, the heart and soul of the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson may be our best player, but KJ Osborne, he is, I've got some phonus troubles going on that I told you about before the show went live. He is the pilot light of the Vikings. Like, he had to, once he got lit, the team took off, and man, Absolutely. Gosh, it gives you hope. It really does. It gives you hope.
Well, I gotta jump on that KJ Osborne comment because honestly, Alec Lewis of The Athletic, he's the Vikings athletic writer. Check him out, please, people. He's awesome. I read almost every piece he puts out. He's a young buck like Jordan and I, a recent graduate from the University of Missouri. He's fantastic. Probably the best Vikings writer out there, in my opinion. He put a piece out last week actually about KJ Osborne. He featured him talking about how KJ perfectly embodies this team and how KJ is, the perfect sacrificial, really talented, but sacrificial player on this team where if he's anywhere else, he might be getting 2-3 times the touches. And Saturday afternoon proved exactly why. He's been maybe underutilized this season. He's been really effective in maybe the bubble screen game as well as jet sweeps, quite frankly, on short yardage situations. But Saturday afternoon, watching him kind of single-handedly get the team off their butts. Obviously, it was a team effort. You have to have all 22 playing together to get back into a game like that. But his energy and, frankly, his anger got this team back in the game. I was watching the game when he scored that first touchdown. you could tell he was just pissed off. And I immediately thought, like, okay, this is the guy who's going to get us back into this if we have any chance. And you could tell that anger is what got the team back into the game, because everybody responded after that.
Absolutely.
Obviously there were things said at halftime, the famous Patrick Peterson quote, but that energy and that fierce, fiery anger is what got this team back into it.
Yeah, I was honestly, because I do this every Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Thursday when the Vikings are playing, I start kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I start kind of pre-testing takes in my head to see like what sounds good, what's a little too convoluted, what have you. And I was like, as the second half was going on, I was like, the Vikings are going to be represented by one KJ Osborne play today, and it was the almost big catch at the end of the first half where he lost control of it a little bit whenever he came to the ground, and he doesn't complete the catch. But man, that was almost so cool. And so I was prepping up, especially when we punted in overtime, for man, that was almost so cool. But the Vikings did it. I want to ask you this before we just keep rambling on. By the way, spoiler alert. I don't think there's going to be a negative thing said on this show. This is going to be a very we're still living in it, folks. And this is going to be amazing. And maybe we'll speak a little bit more realistically or negatively on Wednesday's show when we preview the Giants game. But I want to get you out to, were you one of the people that was screaming we win the division with a tie, take a knee at the end of the game? Or did you want to see us complete the biggest comeback in NFL history the way that we did with the walk-off field goal? Where were you at when we got the ball back in overtime?
I was absolutely not interested in a tie. It was funny earlier in the game. I think you remember I texted you when the Vikings were down, 30-0 or something, and I said this team does not deserve to win the division with a win. It would only be fitting if they lost and Detroit lost. That was the way they won the division, sitting on their couches at home watching the Lions lose. The Lions did not lose, but neither did the Vikings. And it crossed my mind that a tie wins the division. My little brother actually texted me and he said, wait, if we tie, do we win the division? And I said, yes. But I had no interest in it because this team had come all the way back. And you could just tell that they weren't that interested in it either. Now, they weren't going to be stupid about it. And you could tell, based on what Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins said after the game that, Kirk made a comment that his quarterback coach told him right before he went out for that last, minute 45 or whatever, hey, Kirk, we're going to start with a run. A tie wins the division. And so Kirk was like kind of taken aback by it. But I think when the first down run was successful, I think they got 5 or 6 yards. Then after that, they went for it. I think if that run loses 2 yards, then maybe you're looking at, okay, maybe we'll just take the tie. So I was not interested in the tie. I think it would have been very anticlimactic, kind of lame. But yeah, how about you? Were you kind of?
No, so I was in the boat. My dad was in the just get down, go for the tie. And he was passionate about it. Like the most passion I've seen out of this man since like 2017, maybe. Like he was like, just get down. Like, he had the bass in his voice. Like he was not interested in winning. I said at the beginning of overtime, because I kept, it got very dramatic. It went from being like 0 to 100 in my parents' household very quickly. And I said, all throughout the second half, basically, like once we got within 2 possessions, once the defense came back on the field, I would start pounding the couch saying like, don't let it be for nothing defense. Like, and so it was just like a day of 1,000 phrases. So when overtime hit, I started giving, also the commentary on my Hulu app was a little jacked up. So my dad kept muting the TV and he was just doing color commentary by himself.
Oh no.
And so, he was doing play by play. So I started doing color. And my color analysis was something along the lines of like, the Vikings have a chance to etch their names in the halls of Valhalla with their forefathers. Like, just getting on some generic stuff that belongs in the pregame rituals of US Bank Stadium. I wanted the win. I really did. And especially once Thielen caught that pass and it was like, okay, well, on the edge of field goal range, I was like, run the clock, kick the field goal. If it goes 50 yards to the left or right, we win the division. If it goes through, we win the division, and we just made history, and we just witnessed history on a random Saturday in December against the fighting Jeff Saturdays is I think what we were calling them. And of course, Greg Joseph. I mean, he just drains it. And I mean, what a day of football for Vikings fans watching that. My personal favorite thing is that I don't know if you've been following it or if any of the listeners have been following it. The ownership that Victor the Viking has taken over the Pat McAfee show, because he has beaten Pat McAfee's Colts, and all of his co-hosts are like, there's a Packers fan and a Bears fan and a Lions fan, there's a Dolphins fan. So the ownership that he now has over that show is pretty impressive. I don't know if mascots can do interviews. I need Victor the Viking on the Pat McAfee show in some capacity, because that's my favorite part after getting a win over one of those aforementioned teams.
Speak it into existence, man.
It would be so good. And even if he just comes on there and like throws like a gimmick punch on McAfee and knocks him out, McAfee's goofy like that. But I think that would be a lot of fun. What was let's get into this, because we're going to talk about the texts that were sent all by me to you, because I'm a very negative person. One, I do want to point out, new tradition, every time the Vikings score a touchdown for the rest of the season, you will be getting a text that says "hey" with a bunch of Y's and exclamation points, because that quickly became like a "hey, we did something," and it quickly turned into like, I think I said I couldn't feel my chest at one point. So I want to talk about one take I had in particular. I'm staring it in the face right now, and I'm going to stand by it. And this is going to be a little bit of negativity creeping its way into the show. I said, I think it's time we understand this team stinks and it isn't well coached. I'm 50% wrong on that. I'm not convinced that this team is well coached. I'm convinced that this team is talented, and it feels like I'm trying to think of a good word, maybe like a glass cannon. It just feels like when they focus all of their attention and energy on one thing, they do it, and they do it incredibly well, like Super Bowl level execution by this team. But it feels like there's been too many times this season where we have came in and we have gotten punched in the mouth immediately. See Dallas Saturday against Indianapolis for the first half an hour, and then go back to Philly. It just feels like this team comes into some games unprepared, and I love the comeback, and I love seeing the grit and the fight and the tenacity of this team to get back into it. But I mean, at some point, I am going to be like, okay, Kevin, what's going on? Why are your teams not ready? And that's going to be something that I'm going to keep my eye on until he proves me entirely wrong. And unfortunately, I think the only way he can do that is a playoff victory this season. So do you kind of agree with that, at least a little bit? I know that you said, 9-1 skull games and all that kind of stuff. I kind of want to I don't know. I want to hash this out. Let's air the dirty laundry.
I think there's definitely some merit to it. I think the way that you put it is very, I guess I don't know if I'd say convincing, but there's definitely merit to the argument. I mean, I'll even go one step sooner. I'd like to see the Vikings come out and assert themselves on Saturday against the Giants. I'm not interested in a back and forth, a nail biting game. I think they need to come out and they need to assert their dominance. And no, they are not the Eagles and they are not the Chiefs, although the Chiefs almost lost to the Texans. And they are not I guess probably those couple teams, Chiefs and Eagles. They're not quite on that level. I was going to say Bills, and then I remembered that we beat the Bills. But there is something to that sort of, why do we get – because I think I texted you something similar of like, I fear that this team is soft insofar as we get just absolutely punched in the mouth, like you said, and can't get off the mat. Because this would have been, if we didn't complete this historic comeback, it would have been the third blowout, basically in which we got just manhandled in the first half and couldn't come back from it. And so, yes, you love the comeback, you love the grit, you love the tenacity, you love the fight that the team showed. and that's like a really good sign. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, why is there this element of like a here we go again? The team has won 11 games. There shouldn't be a here we go again with this team. So I think there's something there. I think they're maybe well coached in other areas and maybe not so well coached when it comes to preparation from time to time.
Absolutely.
And I think part of that has to be new coaching staff. They've never worked together before. Some of them have, I guess, but rookie head coach, he's younger than some of the players. Like there's some of that for sure. But I think it's a good call to keep your eye on it moving forward.
Yeah, I like because it could just be that it's a rookie head coach. And I was talking, I live in the Cincinnati area. The Bengals also had a historic-ish comeback, not quite to the level of like all-time NFL history, but they beat Tom Brady when he was up by 17 at home. That's never been done before.
Never happened before.
Never happened. Like 86 or 89-0. Like that's impressive for the Bengals. And I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I was like, "Yeah, you guys are in." Because he was saying if the Bengals don't win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow on a rookie deal, he doesn't think it's going to happen in Joe Burrow's career with the Bengals. And I was like, "Yeah, the Vikings are playing with house money right now because like." We have a new GM. We have a new coach. Teams that get new GMs and new coaches should not be clinching their division with 3 weeks of football left to play. No. Teams that get new head coaches and new GMs typically are like the Houston Texans or the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Like these. I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound awful considering the Lions beat us a couple of weeks ago, but like poverty franchises, like just really bad franchise. Those turnover and it's bad. And it just kind of feels like this season is house money. And honestly, next season also might be a little bit of house money because it's like, yeah, well, getting new guys, into the system. Kwesi is building his team. You could still very much say this is Rick Spielman roster that Kevin O'Connell is coaching. And it just feels to me like, if that is what they are capable of, and this is I was thinking this today while I was walking and listening to some other Vikings content. I know the answer to this question, but why can't we just play like that on offense all the time? When we need points, we get them and make it look easy. Why can we not need to get to like 30 points before the first half is over and just do that? Like, I don't know what it is. I know it's not that easy. I guess that's what I know is that it's not that easy, but I don't know. I wish it was. And I'm going to make a little bit of a spoiler for Wednesday night's show. The Vikings are either losing big to the Giants or they're blowing the Giants out. I think this is one of those where they're either riding this momentum all the way into like a big win or they are going to have another post-Buffalo big emotional comeback blowout type deal. So I don't know. I'm excited.
It's an interesting point because I had this thought today too of the last time that the Vikings had this, emotional victory, come big 3+ score, 3 score or more comeback in the fourth quarter, also an overtime win in Buffalo. They came home against an NFC East team the following week and got their doors blown off them. And so 2 things. Hopefully they learn from that. And I think you would like to think that they would, being a veteran group, and this team has seen everything this year. And so you would expect them to be a little more prepared, even if the X's and O's aren't prepared, which.
All right, looks like we got a little bit of freezing here from Will. I don't want to finish his take, so I'll wait until we get him unfrozen, and then we'll have him jump back into that.
Maybe the play calling wasn't great, but also, hey, did I lose you?
Yeah, we lost you. You said the last thing you said was like the X's and O's, and then you froze up, and then yeah. If you just want to hop back in though.
Yeah. So yeah, really all I was saying was just that I think the biggest error, if you will, from that first half on Saturday was the execution. It seemed lazy. It seemed uninspired. And so you would imagine that the team comes up a little more prepared for that, just ready to, once they get punched, to punch back. So I'd like to see the Vikings not get blown out by another NFC East team. I've already seen it twice this year, and it's already a little bit old. So it'd be good to see them come out and really just, like I said, assert themselves and have a little bit more of a dominating performance.
Yeah, it would be very nice if the Vikings were able to come out and to just dominate. My concern, not really my concern, but like I watched Sunday Night Football last night, and Kayvon Thibodeau does look like he's very good at football. You texted me last night and said that Saquon Barkley is very good at football, and so there is the Giants are not a lay down and die team. If the Giants get a 33-point lead, I don't expect to come back from it. The Colts are not a good team. And I don't think they're well coached. And I have all the respect in the world for Jeff Saturday, and I loved him as an analyst, and I want him to be a good coach. But I mean, he went from high school to the NFL, and that's a big jump. And it's just it probably didn't work out there. But who am I to say? I talk about the Vikings on the internet, so. I don't know. I feel like we are required by law to point out Justin Jefferson, still the best wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think it's close. He is adding to that resume every week at this point. Stephon Gilmore just looked burnt to a crisp on that touchdown route. That was disgusting. Made me want to throw up in my own mouth. It was just a gross route. And I'm really happy that he got that touchdown there, because obviously every point mattered for the Vikings as they get that win in overtime. But I'm going to pass it off to you to maybe get some final takes, final thoughts, and take as much time as you need. I know we could probably talk about this game for 6 hours straight, but I'm worried that if we keep going, we will talk about this game for 6 hours straight.
Yeah, I got a few things. I think first and foremost, this needs to be said because there's been a lot of doubters. There's been a lot of denigration of Dalvin Cook this season. If Dalvin Cook is washed, he might be the best washed player in the history of the NFL. And I made that comment, I think, midway through the first half when he eclipsed 1,000 yards for the fourth straight season. He hasn't missed a game this year, which as of now, knock on wood, there's still 3 games left. The first time in his career that he would play the entire season. And part of that is I think it's honestly a little bit of load management, giving Alexander Mattison more touches, far fewer handoffs per game, keeping him a little healthier. And yeah, he's not as quick. He's not as strong. He's not as shifty. But the B- version of Dalvin Cook is better than most guys' A version in the NFL. I was also told this last week, I will not desecrate his name on the airwaves, but I was told this week that Dalvin Cook is a liability in the passing game. I think we can put that to bed as well. 95 receiving yards, 64-yard touchdown reception that set up the game-tying 2-point conversion. If Dalvin Cook, I will say it again, if he is washed, he has to be the best washed player ever.
Also, if Dalvin's not on the Vikings, just throwing this in there, we lose to Buffalo and to Indianapolis. Yes. Like me, it was a commonly said thing in the Hawthorne household on Saturday. We need at least one turnover, and we need a quick touchdown. Like we need a one-play drive. And in Buffalo, he gave that to us with the touchdown run, and in Indy, he gave it to us with that big pass that you just mentioned. I mean, he really is explosive this season, and it's insane.
Yeah, and we can debate after the season whether or not the Vikings should bring him back. He's got there's a team option to let him go after this season, although he does have a couple years left on his deal. I actually wrote about this earlier this summer, that this could be the end of Dalvin Cook's tenure, but we can debate all that later. He is clearly a valuable member of this team. He's a captain on the team. He's very, very valuable to this team. So that needs to be said. That needs to be acknowledged. The other things, just a couple little caveats that I think are hilarious when it comes to stats. The last 24-plus point comeback victory in the NFL was the Kirk Cousins "you like that" game. So think about that for a little bit. Previous to the season starting, my bold Kirk Cousins prediction was what, Jordan?
touchdowns to interceptions. We would have as many wins as Kirk Cousins had interceptions.
And how many interceptions has he thrown?
I'm gonna assume it is 11.
Yes, he has thrown 11 interceptions, and the
money.
Vikings have 11 touchdowns or 11 victories. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Jalen Roygo, for that.
Let's see. What else do I need to spew? I think we also, and you mentioned it. Speaking of Jalen Reagor, I found it interesting and also a little bit damning that both interceptions were on throws to Jalen Reagor, the play immediately following a Justin Jefferson injury scare.
Yep.
So maybe we shouldn't be throwing the ball to Jalen Reagor as much as everybody wanted us to. So think about that. The last thing, and then I'll get one final rant in. You gotta give the defense a ton of credit. We were banging on the doors to fire at Donatel. I wasn't one of those people, but there were many fans who were. They needed to change something. They verbally confirmed to us that they were going to play more press man, which they did. And the defense was a lot more active, only allowed one touchdown. They only gave up 22 points. The additional 14 were on a pick six and a punt block for a touchdown. So the defense played great. Only 341 yards in basically 5 quarters of football after a streak of, I believe it was 5 straight games of 400-plus yards allowed. So hats off to the defense. They have to continue that, though, against another not-so-great offense with the Giants, but has a couple playmakers that we have to look out for. So last thing I'm going to say, it's not going to be long, is that I think we know that this team isn't quite good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think that's pretty clear if you really just look at the body of work and maybe the talent level and the margin for error being very slim. But there is something with this team that you have to keep in the back of your head, that there is a little bit of is this a team of destiny feel? And this could just be the heartbroken Vikings fan in me thinking back to 2009 or 2017 or heck 2015 and Blair Walsh. And I know people are thinking about 1998.
Oh boy.
But there is something with this team where they get down and they come back. They need to make a stop at the end of the game and they get an interception. They need a game-winning drive and they get it. They haven't lost a one-score game yet, and there's just something with this team and with this energy and with this culture. And for one thing, it's just been a blast. But for the other thing, you have to think a little bit. And we're not actually a part of the team, so we get to do this. We get to kind of fantasize a little bit about where this team might go. I don't know, man. There's a little bit of destiny feel to this team. So I think it's something that I might hold on to a little bit, just as a little bit of hope as we go into the playoffs here. But back over to you. That's all I got. I'm excited about this win. Obviously a lot to clean up, but as they say, on to New York.
Absolutely. I'm going to remind everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the YouTube channel, subscribe to us on whatever podcasting app you use to listen to podcasts. Make sure you shop Unified Athletic Wear for all of your, athletic wear that you need, whether it be jerseys or whether it just be casual, like clothes you wear to the gym or clothes you wear around the house, that kind of stuff. Really good designs, good people over there at Unified Athletic Wear. Follow the show at LTB Vikings. Follow Will at Will Bad Lose, GOAT Twitter handle. And check out VikingsTerritory.com and the Bad Loser blog. Okay, now that I got all that out of the way, we swept it under the rug. I want to point out a couple of things. One, hate the phrase team of destiny, because I remember thinking that in 2017, and I'm not trying to bring the show down. My grandfather, who I believe was the man who made the switch to be, he decided to be a Vikings fan and then raised his children, and his children raised me and my cousins to be Vikings fans. He passed away in 2017. Really thought team of destiny after the miracle. Really cried on my toilet after the 38-7 game. So I hate team of destiny. But I will say this. Does any team in the NFL confidently let me rephrase this. Does any team in the NFL feel confident up 3 points with 2 minutes to go against the Vikings this season? No, they don't. No one does. Everybody, and I don't care if you've beaten us, the Cowboys dog walked us up and down our own stadium. If the Cowboys come back to US Bank and it is they have a 3-point lead with 2 minutes to go and Kirk Cousins is taking the field, every Cowboys fan in America is peeing down their leg because they are terrified. And isn't that nutty that Kirk Cousins strikes fear into the hearts of football fans because that man just keeps coming back? There's a meme from the show South Park, which is not a show that we reference a lot on this channel due to its graphic and mature nature. But there's a meme where the dad in South Park keeps getting the crap kicked out of him, and he gets up and he says, "I didn't hear no bell." And that just defines the Vikings this season. They're down 2 possessions multiple times against Detroit this season. They didn't hear a bell. They got back up. They won the game. They're down, 24-10 against Buffalo. Didn't hear a bell, win it in overtime in Buffalo. They're down 33-0 to a bad Colts team. Didn't hear a bell, got back up, 39-33 victory. Walk it off in overtime for the division. They just keep doing it time and time again. So yeah, look, could the Vikings get beat by 5 possessions in the playoffs and get sent packing and be declared frauds by the national media? Yeah, they could. But also, did anybody expect the Vikings to win the Super Bowl? Vikings fans. Did any Viking fan expect the Vikings to win a Super Bowl this season? No. Honestly, look yourself in the mirror. You didn't. I'm just saying, you made the dance. You have a chance. You're right where you need to be. Let's go out. Let's win out. Let's keep this 2 seed. The 1 seed's out. Okay, Philly's gonna win 1 game. Let's keep this 2 seed. Let's make sure that we don't play Philly until the championship game, if that. And let's just have fun with it. Because like I said earlier on the show, this is house money. It's been a very fun season, and we've witnessed history for the Minnesota Vikings this season. And anytime you can say that, you have to be happy. Tune in on Wednesday night, same time, same place, next day on podcasting apps. Once again, I've been Jordan Hawthorne. He's been Will Goodwin. This has been A Day Late and a Dollar Shout. And as always, most importantly, Skol, y'all.